No matter how many times Master Trainer Nubu checked his data slate, the results displayed on it were the same. His platoon was still last in the charts. Ignoring his now cold breakfast, he opened the details again and went over the scores for each individual soldier. On total, the numbers were bad enough. What really dragged the total score down was the individual performance achieved by the 3 humans placed in his platoon. Their numbers were not just low, they were abysmal. They all scored just above the minimum required points. Just a tiny bit lower, and they would all have been declared unfit for duty and discharged. Sure, the humans were allies, and they more than carried their own weight in the war against the Corvan Empire. Sure, there was a need for better cooperation and coordination between our forces, but for the love of the sun, Nubu could not understand how could someone come up with the idea to train such different soldiers together. This felt like the universe itself was trying to ruin his newly started Master Trainer career. I mean, the humans only had 4 limbs, and really short ones too. Of course they were scored badly at basically everything, and of course no less than 3 of them had landed in his team. Fucking humans, he sighed. Tempting idea, but I would strongly suggest against it, came a voice from the other side of the table. Another Master Trainer, judging by the uniform, holding an overfilled food tray and grinning from ear to ear, flopped onto the empty seat across from him. I'm sorry? Nubu asked in confusion. Fucking humans? Said the individual, starting to stuff food into his mouth. Apparently that didn't stop him from talking. I'm telling you, bad idea. He was slowly shaking his head. He leaned closer and whispered, They're really kinky, you know. And he began to chuckle at his own remark. Also, some of them have dangerously high stamina when it comes to sex. They evolved as pursuit predators, you know. Probably sexual predators, am I right? He was now laughing loudly at his own attempt of a joke, nudging Nubu with one arm, like they were some old pack-mates. Nubu felt blood rushing to his face. People around were starting to stare at them. That's not what I meant. He tried to clarify the situation to this new person. I'm sorry, but who are you? Nubu tried to redirect the conversation to a more formal standard. Oh, where are my manners? The individual wiped one of his palms on the chest of his uniform. Then he grabbed Nubu's upper right arm with it and gave it a short, firm shake. Master Trainer Biku. Master Trainer Nubu. Nubu automatically replied. Don't worry, Nubu, I know what you meant. I'm just messing with you. Biku grinned and continued. Anyway, it's not my business to discuss your sexual preferences. I'm here on another matter. Oh? Asked Nubu in surprise. Your squad? It came out last in the score charts, right? Nubu gulped and nodded in shame. Master Trainer Biku continued eating and talking at the same time. You have humans in your platoon and they have really bad scores, right? How many you got, kid? 4? 5? 3. Managed to nod Nubu, so surprised that he overlooked the kid remark. How did you know? Do you have humans in your platoon too? Yeah, smiled Biku fondly. Got 5 of them, little buggers. How did your squad do in the ranking? Asked Nubu, looking at the data slate. This is my gang, indicated Biku on the screen, to the squad that was on the 3rd place. You got 3rd place with 5 humans in your platoon? Yeah, was actually aiming for 5th or 4th place to be honest, replied a less enthusiastic Biku. But then one human dared another to do some stupid shit and things got a bit out of control. I'm sorry, I don't follow. Dared? And you sound disappointed that you ended up higher on the charts. Well, when you rank up too high, you attract too much attention from the brass, Biku sighed. It's how I landed this babysitting job. Nubu blinked in confusion. Brass? Babysitting? He was having a hard time understanding all the words that Biku was saying. Listen, Nubu, can I just call you Noob? He ignored Nubu's forming protest and continued. Listen here, Noob. This whole base, with the mixed squads and units and whatnot, it has to be a success. The brass has to prove that we can fight together with the humans, and more important, we must prove that we can command and train them efficiently. Hence, seeing that we have just one more week before this training session ends, the brass saw my platoon's score and asked me to help you get your squad out of the gutter. Nubu stiffened. He was now guessing that brass meant high command. I have not been informed about this. Of course not. Our brass wouldn't want to attract attention to this matter. It would be seen as cheating by the humans' brass. They want this done. Quietly. Like a friendly collaboration between trainers. Biku slapped him amicable on the shoulder and winked. Nubu was lost for words. I don't follow. No need to thank me yet, mate, interrupted Biku. I ain't doing this out of the goodness of my heart. The base commander asked me to do it. And he did it in a tone that suggested a closer look at my requisition books in case of refusal. Or in case of failure. So I'm going to help you out. He smiled reassuringly at Nubu. Thank the sun he left us the entire rest of this week to fix this shit, he said, with a hint of amused irony in his voice. Nubu sighed, defeated. I'm sorry. I thank you for your offer, but my squad score is too low. I did everything by the book, but it's no good. All the humans score way too low. They are too weak. I fear there is no fixing this. Nonsense, boomed Biku. Let me have that tablet. Show me the individual human scores. I'm not sure I can do that, hesitated Nubu. Data privacy and all that. Biku gave him a look that was equally surprised and incredulous. Then he burst out laughing. Ha ha ha! You're messing with me. Oh, son, that was a good one. You're a fast learner, huh? He said, barely bouncing with laughter. Now give it here, he abruptly said, and took the tablet right out of Nubu's hand. Nubu, caught by surprise, swallowed dryly and did a small laugh, trying to sound like he really had tried to joke. Let's see, said Biku, face suddenly serious, expertly switching between sheets of results on the tablet and mumbling to himself. Not bad. Okay, nice. Huh. Nubu could see that Biku's face, while browsing and fast-reading all the data, was changing from concentration to amusement. Oh, these mofos are good. They're really good. I'm sorry, mofos? Nubu guessed he was referring to the humans. They are definitely not good at anything. What in the darkness are you seeing good in their results? Biku was grinning again with all of his mouth. He pulled up front on the screen a certain report. Look at these target practice results, for example. First, this human Percy. Initial shot, center mass, maximum points. With this shot, he assured his minimum required points, right? So what does he do with the rest of his 4 bullets? Dick shots. All 4 of them. Really accurate ones, mind you, but of course, almost no points for all of them. And then the other 2 humans did the same. Probably they have a bet between themselves who gets more dick shots. Biku was now thoroughly amused while explaining. Nubu snatched his tablet back and rechecked the results. What the darkness were dick shots? He checked where the shots landed on the target. Shocking realization dawned on him. They're doing this on purpose. They could have all scored much, much higher, but they're sabotaging my squad. But why? He was both disgusted and furious. He got up, fuming. I'm going to rip them apart. Calm down, mate. Biku, still amused, grabbed one of his arms and pulled him back onto the bench. It's just what humans do. These are not fresh army recruits. They are soldiers that already passed training in their human army. So this joint training program is boring for them. It's a chore. They don't give a shit about our scoring, they just want to pass. He let go of Nubu's arm. Besides, going at them like that won't fix anything. They'll just deny it and they'll do even worse. No, dude, this requires a more delicate and diplomatic approach. Lucky for you, I am known for my delicate touch. He finished his sentence with a thunderous burp, and dabbed his mouth with his sleeve. Listen here, noob. I'll join you on the field tomorrow, and I'll show you a few tricks on how to motivate humans into performing better. Nubu started to nod, but then stopped. Wait. Tomorrow we don't have shooting, we have long-distance marching. I don't think we can improve that. Biku snorted. Come on, noob. Remember what I told you a few minutes ago? They evolved as pursuit predators. Right now our test requires that they do a minimum of 20 clicks in maximum 4 hours. And all your humans did 20 clicks in roughly 3 hours and 50 minutes. My guess, they stopped somewhere along the way and took a nap or something. They can do this distance in less than 2 hours. They just have to want to do it. Nubu was incredulous. You're telling me they can run with 10 clicks an hour for 2 hours straight? Yeah, dude. Like I told you, they're stamina freaks. Biku got up from the table, taking his now empty tray. Tomorrow, do your standard training routine in the morning. I'll come by at 2 o'clock and we will do the long-distance marching thing. Just to be clear, I'll be conducting the exercise, okay? I know how to work with humans. You just stand next to me, looking menacing and frowning. Yeah, just like that. Deal? Biku was waiting with his open palm extended towards him. A bit reluctant, but also a bit hopeful, Nubu nodded in agreement. Good, then it's settled, Biku grinned, and grabbed one of his palms into his and shook it. The next morning, During the training session, Nubu had to bite his lip not to explode onto the humans. In light of what Biku told him about them, he could see now that they were not even trying. The little bastards were constantly chatting between themselves while doing the routine exercises. They were not even out of breath, and there was zero indication of them trying to do their best. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad was performing better, and a bit more conscientious, but Nubu could see that the carefree attitude of the humans was starting to rub off onto the rest of the squad. Everyone was doing their exercises like they cared shit for how low the platoon was in the scoring charts. A few minutes before 2 o'clock, an ancient-looking, rusted old bus pulled next to the training field, and squealed to a stop in a cloud of smoke. The whole squad was staring at the contraption, not understanding what it was doing here. A sweaty Biku came out, and strutted with confidence to Nubu. "Sergeant Biku reporting for duty as commanded, sir," he yelled, and performed a flawless salute. He had screed himself into a sergeant's uniform, 2 numbers too small, and was now grinning expectantly at Nubu. All Nubu could do was to salute back and nod in acknowledgement. Biku continued to shout, "Shall I load the troops for the long-distance marching trial, sir?" Nubu had to go with the flow and nodded in agreement. "All right, guys, into the bus, on the double. We don't have all day." The troops were as confused as Nubu, but they climbed into the bus nonetheless. Usually the trials were done here, running laps around the base, so the confusion was understandable. But as soldiers they obeyed, since the new sergeant seemed to have the endorsement of their master trainer. The bus had been left with the coughing motor running. Nubu doubted it would ever start again if someone were to shut it off. After everyone got on board, Biku planted himself into the driver's seat and fiddled with the onboard radio until he made it blare out some strange, loud music. Everyone was cringing at the strange noise, except the humans, who were bobbing their heads to the beat. Satisfied with the onboard entertainment, Biku drove them out of the base, and then southwards in a straight line. The warm air, the dust, the wind coming through the opened or missing windows, the noise of the strange music seemed to bother everyone, except Biku and the humans. 2 of the humans even had their heads out of the windows, enjoying the breeze. About half an hour later, Biku stopped in the middle of nowhere. He cut the music, but still had to yell over the sound of the engines. "All right, everyone, we're here. Off the bus and line up." "Where in the darkness are we?" mumbled Nubu to himself. There was nothing around as far as the eyes can see, only rocks and scrubs and cacti. When everyone was lined up, Sergeant Biku turned to Nubu, again with that over-enthusiastic yelling voice. "Shall I explain the exercise rules to the platoon, sir?" Since Nubu had no idea why Biku had dragged them in the middle of nowhere, he nodded in agreement. "Please do so, Sergeant." The sergeant happily saluted, and turned to the lined-up troops. Thankfully, this time he addressed them in a more normal voice. "All right, guys, listen up. The rules are simple. This is long-distance marching, combined with basic orientation. The base is 20 clicks north." He pointed in the direction of the base. "You will start marching at 1500. You have 4 hours to get back to base. We will wait for you there at the gate. Whomever is late will have 1 hour to pack his shit because he will be out. Your army issued smartwatches all have compass function, map, GPS. They also record your travel distance, so there is no real danger of you getting lost unless you're a complete moron, in which case it's better for everyone if you are out. Any questions?" The soldiers were nodding. There were no questions. Some soldiers seemed bored. The humans, of course. Some were checking their watches. Nubu was disappointed. How was this supposed to motivate the humans to move faster? His musing was interrupted by Biku, addressing the soldiers again. "It is 14:52, he said, checking his own watch. "This means we have about 8 more minutes before we start the exercise. You can all be at ease until then. I do suggest you hydrate, check your watches, warm up, do your stretching. Meanwhile, I will enlighten you with some facts about the surrounding area." Nubu watched as most of the soldiers started doing as Biku suggested. Stretching, limbering up, checking their compasses, and so on. All except the humans, who just flopped onto the ground, relaxing, joking between them. They looked like they were out for a picnic, and not a serious scoring exercise. This entire area used to be a seabed, you know. Apparently Biku had already started the enlightening part. This is why it is so flat. If you are passionate about geology and/or paleontology, you are in luck. He picked up a small rock from the ground and showed it to the soldiers. The entire area is very rich in fossils, like this one. If anyone wants to pick up some on the way back to the base, you can use these backpacks. He opened a hatch on the side of the bus, pulled 2 canvas backpacks and threw them onto the ground. Nubu wondered if Biku had suffered a heat stroke or something. Who in their right mind would burden themselves by carrying rocks on an endurance trail? The entire platoon was just as dumbfounded as Nubu. Biku, on the other hand, continued to talk happily, like a professor in front of a class filled with knowledge-thirsty students. The soil in this region still has a rather high salt content, hence the rather low variety of plants that grow here. In fact, this cactus you see here, he pointed at a weird-shaped, spiny thing, is endemic. This means it only grows in this region. Locals use its fruits to make the famous Balik drink out of it. At this, he bent a bit towards the humans, and explained directly to them. Balik is something very similar to your Earth's tequila drink. He returned to his professor stance. In fact, just 8 clicks east of here, and he pointed to his right, there's a small town famous for its high-quality Balik. The locals pride themselves with the purest Balik, made solely from plants, with no additional artificial flavouring whatsoever. As Nubu was about to intervene and put an end to this nonsense, one of the humans spoke up. Sergeant, out of curiosity, how far is it from that town to the base? All the humans, Nubu noticed, were very attentive at Biku's rambling. From the town, if you go straight towards our base, there are 23 clicks, answered Biku, beaming like a professor proud of his wards. He turned to everyone else, while the humans started to whisper frantically between them. Alright everyone, 2 minutes before you must start marching. Anything else before we go? Any questions? Nubu had some, but they couldn't be asked out loud in front of the troops. Biku was about to say something else when the human lifted his hand in the air. Yes? Asked Biku patiently. Can we take the backpacks? Oh, a fellow rock enthusiast. Sure, you can take them, agreed Biku, grinning. Just make sure to bring me one of those fossils too, okay? And he winked at the human. The human grinned back and nodded. Understood, Sergeant. And he grabbed the 2 backpacks, handing one to another of the humans. Nubu had never seen the humans so alert and energetic before. Biku was now nudging him towards the bus, while still speaking to the soldiers. 1 more minute and you can start. See you all at the base. Remember, you have a maximum of 4 hours to get there. And with that, he climbed into the bus, urging Nubu in. As soon as Nubu stepped inside the bus, Biku turned it in a wide arc, heading north towards the base. Nubu looked behind at his squad, and saw that they had started to jog. Now out of earshot of the soldiers, he growled at Biku. Care to explain to me what in the name of the darkness was that all about? What was with the geology lesson? How is that motivating the humans? Biku was laughing, while bouncing in the driver's seat. Relax, noob. Your humans are now properly and fully motivated. Instead of 20 clicks, they will do over 30. He shot a look in the rearview mirror. Look, they started running east. Nubu looked back, and indeed, 3 shapes were jogging east, instead of heading north towards the base. And they were moving at a rather fast pace. They're going to that Balik town? Yep. Nubu added the numbers in his head. 8 clicks from here to the town. 23 clicks from town to base. 31 clicks in total. Probably some time wasted in the town. He was actually worried. Can they make it back to base in 4 hours? Yeah, dude. Don't worry. I do this exercise with my guys, and they do it with some time to spare. It is pushing them a bit, but that's why we are here, no? To toughen them up, said Biku. He reached with one of his right hands and opened a compartment below the dashboard. He fished a bagel from there and started to munch on it. Nubu still had lots of questions. So, the chance to get some Balik in town motivated them? But what was that about the fossils? Oh, that was just an excuse to hand them over those backpacks. They have to carry the bottles of Balik back to base into something, right? But I couldn't have said that all directly. I couldn't just ask them to run 31 clicks instead of 20. No. Lesson 1, noob. Humans like to think that they are clever, that they bend the rules, that they trick the man. The man? That would be you, noob. It means the person that gives the orders. Right now they believe they thought of something really clever. To go town, score some booze, and still make to base on time. Without you knowing. But it's a win-win-win. They are happy with their booze. You'll be happy with the score. I mean, over 30 clicks instead of 20 is worth maximum points, right? I'm happy with the score too, but I also have a free bottle of Balik coming my way. Huh? How come? I told that human to bring a fossil for me too, right? Biku grinned. Do I look like someone that started a rock collection? I'm certain that the human got the message, or he'll be scrubbing toilets for the rest of the week. Back at the base, things went just as expected. With the exception of the humans, the whole platoon made a straight line towards the base and arrived in a little under 3 hours. The humans arrived about 10 minutes before the 4 hours mark. For the first time, Nubu saw them tired, gasping for breath, dripping sweat. He downloaded their results from their watches, and just as Biku predicted, they had all scored 31 clicks. Both of the backpacks were apparently full of fossils, and Biku discreetly pulled one human aside, and then slid something into a hatch of the bus. When the soldiers were all dismissed, Biku approached Nubu. That went well. Nubu had to agree. The extra clicks that the humans added made the today's score the best he had so far. So, what do you have planned tomorrow? Asked Biku, producing an apple from one of his pockets and munching on it. Target practice, answered Nubu. I wouldn't do that. The humans can get a really good score at that, but not tomorrow. What's wrong with tomorrow? Well, honestly, they're going to be hungover tomorrow. Downside of letting them score that booze is that they're going to drink a lot of it tonight. And before you say anything... Biku stopped him before he could protest. Let them be. They deserve it. But tomorrow, blurry vision, shaking hands. Not the optimal form for target practice. We'll do something else. How do they score at the obstacle course? Do your humans climb the wall? They do okay, but since the climbing wall is not mandatory for humans, they don't do it. Heh, snorted Biku in amusement. Lazy little bastards. I swear they wouldn't even breathe if it wasn't mandatory. That settles it then. Bring them at the obstacle course at 2 o'clock. I'll meet you there. We'll see if we can motivate them into climbing that wall. By the way, out of the 3 of them, who's the alpha? Nubu was confused. I don't think humans have pack ranking like that. Well, they don't, officially. But if you put 2 humans next to each other, one of them has to dominate the other. They're competitive like that, especially young, testosterone-filled soldiers. I bet you that Percy is the alpha in their little pack. He always goes first in all the tests. Today, he was the one that asked about the distance from town to base, and for the backpacks. It's him we have to convince to climb the wall tomorrow. The other 2 will follow. But isn't this dangerous? The wall is not mandatory for humans for a reason. Can they even climb it with just 2 arms? My guys can climb it, so I know humans can do it. That's how my platoon ended up 3rd on the charts, you know. One of my humans dared their alpha to climb it, and so he did. And messed up my score. So, what's the plan? We dare Percy to climb it? How does this dare thing work? Well, a dare is like a challenge. It's when one of their pack is basically telling the alpha, if you do not do this thing, it means that you cannot do it. Thus making you unworthy of being the alpha. We'll try to do something similar, but a little less direct, since we are not in their pack, and cannot challenge the leader like that. And how are we going to do that? Well, I don't know exactly. What I do know is that human males are very proud and competitive. They will never say they can't do something, if they know it is doable. We need to goad the humans into climbing that wall out of pride. Or out of spite. Spite works too. Next day, at the obstacle course, everything went as usual. The humans completed the entire course, up until they reached the climbing wall, which they just went around it. When everyone finished, the soldiers sprawled onto the grass, panting. Nubu, with Biku in tow, passed from trooper to trooper, and collected their results from their watches. Congratulating some, admonishing others. When they reached the humans, before Nubu could collect the data, Biku, with a face that denoted the uttermost naivety, asked them out loud, "Hey guys, I couldn't help but notice that you guys did not try to climb the wall at all. May I ask why?" The humans looked a bit surprised at the question. They all looked at Nubu. "Why are you looking at me? Answer the sergeant," said Nubu with a dry tone. Of course, that it was Percy that answered. He got up from the ground and straightened up. "According to the regulations, humans are not obligated to climb the wall, Sergeant," and he saluted. Biku chuckled and patted Percy on the side of his shoulder. Now, don't be so formal. At ease, soldier." Percy visibly relaxed. "I know it is not mandatory," continued Biku, smiling all friendly. "I was asking just to settle a bet between the master trainer here and myself. He says that humans cannot climb the wall. I think you guys could climb it if you wanted to. Not that you have to, of course," he added in a hurry. "This is all just hypothetical. So, do you think you could climb it?" "But I don't have to," questioned Percy, a bit wary. "Obviously," agreed Biku. He was now looking pensively at the climbing wall. It is a rather difficult wall to climb indeed, especially for someone with just 2 arms." Percy turned to look at the wall too, brows furrowing. He studied the wall a little bit. "Maybe?" he said warily. "Maybe what? You think you could do it?" Beaker was looking down at the human, doubt written all over his face. Percy sighed. "I know what you're trying to do, Sergeant, and I won't climb it." Beaker just looked at him with puzzled innocence, not saying anything. "But, yeah, I could probably climb it," finished Percy. Beaker turned triumphantly towards Nubu. "Hear that, sir? I won the bet. Percy here says humans could climb the wall." Nubu, who sort of picked up on what Beaker was doing, just snorted. "What?" Beaker feigned indignance. "You don't believe him?" "There is a reason why this wall is not included in the humans' training. It is because they cannot do it," answered the master trainer. It was Percy's time to snort and say nothing. He was standing with his arms crossed across his chest, frowning, in a defensive posture. The other two humans were grinning at the entire scene. "I don't have to prove anything," said Percy. Of course," said Beaker conciliatory, patting him gently on the shoulder. "I'm as indignant as you are at this lack of trust in your abilities, or in your honesty." He turned to the rest of the platoon. They were now all paying attention to the conversation. "What about the rest of you? Do you believe Percy when he says he can climb the wall?" Some more snorts and doubtful smiles from the gathering crowd only served to aggravate Percy even more. It was rather obvious to everyone that Beaker was trying to provoke Percy into climbing the wall, but even with it being obvious, it did not reduce the discomfort and pressure that Percy was feeling. Some comments from the rest of the soldiers did not help either. "With those short arms? No way. He is too little to even reach the first holes. He shouldn't even try it. Maybe if one of us carries him on his back." Each one of these comments were chipping away at Percy's patience, but he was still standing firm, not moving. So Beaker had to add a little more fuel to the fire. He turned towards the other two humans, who were now thoroughly amused. "What about you two? Surely you two believe that Private Percy can climb this wall?" Still grinning, one of the two humans looked Percy straight in the eyes and said, "You know what? I'm not really sure he can." The entire platoon switched from sniggering to outright laughter at that. Percy's eyes widened in shocked betrayal. "Why, you little shit," he blurted in disbelief. "You know what? I'll fucking show you." He faced the rest of the crowd. "I'll prove it to all of you." He looked to his backstabbing friends. They were still sitting on the grass, giggling, and nudged one of them with his boot. "Come on, get up, both of you." "What? Why?" protested the other two humans, laughing. Instead of an answer, Percy repeated their recent statement in a highly mocking tone. "You know what? I'm not really sure he can." And he punctuated the response with another booted nudge. "That's why, if I'm doing it, you're doing it too. Come on, move." "But I know shit about climbing," protested one of them, still laughing, but getting up. "I'll go first," said Percy, "and find all the grips. You'll just follow my route." It took Percy about 20 minutes and 2 tries to find a humanly doable route to the top. But once he laid the path, the other two humans were able to follow suit, and they climbed it even faster than Percy. The humans used quite a different style of climbing. While they lacked in upper strength, arms, and, well, upper arms number, they made up for with the power of their legs. They would use their arms to pull themselves to positions where they could securely plant their feet, and then put their entire body weight on their legs, resting their arms for the next move. After all 3 humans cleared the wall, Nubu, impressed, congratulated each and every one of them. After that, the entire platoon gathered around the humans, laughing, and slapping them congratulatory on their backs. Nubu dismissed all of them, and they all headed for the mess hall, laughing. From time to time, one of them would shout, "You know what? I'm not really sure he can." And each time, this would provoke another general explosion of laughter. As Nubu was watching the platoon go, Biku slapped him on the back. "That was fun. I almost wish we'd have a score for morale. You'd probably get maximum points." "Thank you, Master Trainer Biku," said Nubu with sincerity. "Today was truly enlightening. How did you come by to know humans so well?" The ever-present joy on Biku's face dimmed a little bit. It seemed mixed now with a little melancholy. "It's a long story," he said, "and not an entirely joyful one. I fought in the war, you know, against the Corvins. When we stormed Danisha, my transport got shot down from the sky. I somehow made it alive, but barely. A human unit recovered me and patched me up. It took 2 months before I recovered, and almost 4 more months until we found the opportunity to be returned to my original unit. During this entire time, I fought alongside with them and just lived with them. I've made human friends, and sadly I lost some. I saw them at their best, and I saw them at their worst. He smiled fondly. But you know what? I've grown to fucking love them. They are tenacious, proud and loyal to a fault. To be entirely honest, one of the reasons I'm helping you out is because I know from experience that we can fight alongside the humans. I'm telling you, noob, we'll never find better allies than the humans. So, target practice tomorrow? Asked Biku, snapping himself out of melancholy. Yes. Do you have a plan? Oh, this one will be easy. Humans have slightly better eyesight than us, and should all score really high. I'll show you two different simple buttons you can push to motivate the humans, the carrot and the stick. He winked at Nubu, fishing a candy bar from one of his pockets. I don't want to spoil it though. You'll see tomorrow what I'm talking about, he said, while taking a mouthful from his candy bar. Okay, I trust you, laughed Nubu. He was starting to like Biku more and more. 2 o'clock on the shooting range? Yep, said Biku, chewing happily and walking away. See you then. That evening, Nubu checked the intermediate squad rankings. He sighed with relief when he saw his squad was no longer last in the charts. A good score the next day will even put his squad in a decent middle position. As his squad marched to the shooting range the next day, they found Biku already waiting for them, sitting on a bench and polishing off a sandwich. As the soldiers prepared themselves, Biku officially and loudly asked permission from Nubu to take over the day's session. Receiving Nubu's confirmation, he addressed the platoon. Okay guys, first of all, until now the marksmanship trial was just shooting 5 bullets at a fixed target, 100 meters away. We will do this in the first part of today's exercise, as is required by our scoring system. There will also be a second part, a bit more fun. But before we start, I have some bad news for you. All the soldiers stopped fiddling with their rifles and paid attention. 2 members of our cleaning staff had some personal stuff to take care of and will be absent for 1 week. For this period of time, you have to do your own cleaning in your platoon's quarters. Any volunteers? He cast his gaze over everyone, expecting. The soldiers were so quiet you could hear the grass grow. That's disappointing, said Biku, like he expected at least half of them to volunteer. Okay, here's how we'll do it then. The 2 soldiers that will score the lowest in this first phase of the shooting trial will get cleaning duty for the week. This was met with disgruntled grumbling by the entire squad. Biku smiled at their obvious displeasure. You don't want to clean up? Then make sure you shoot straight. Now, line up and good luck to you all. He turned his back to the platoon and joined Nubu. I'm guessing this would be the stick then, asked Nubu quietly, barely keeping a straight face. Biku just grinned in confirmation. After everyone finished shooting, Nubu was compiling the results. Not only did all 3 humans drastically improve their score, not even one useless shot from them, but the rest of the squad had also improved with at least 10 to 15%. His concentration was interrupted by the soldiers' ruckus. They were taking funny jabs at the 2 guys that had scored the lowest. Stuff like, tomorrow make sure my boots are polished to a shine, Surf. Or, I'll order 2 French-made costumes for you guys. What size are you? This was one of the humans. Nobody, except the humans, knew precisely what French-made costumes were, but that did not stop them all from laughing. Nubu could see that even if the 2 soldiers were not very happy with the extra duty they just received for themselves, they were not entirely displeased with the attention the other were giving them, and were even laughing and jabbing back. Jokes, even directed at them, were still strengthening the bond between the squad members. Biku tried to impose some order. Alright, calm down. Let's thank our volunteers for the extra work they will do this week. With that... He bowed his head a little towards the 2 unlucky soldiers, who got fresh rounds of shoulder-slapping from their comrades. Now, continued Biku, for the fun part of today's trial, I worked all week to arrange this, so you better like it. This sector of the shooting range, he said, pointing to a side. I modified it to allow a more accurate evaluation of each soldier. Pay attention. You will go 1 by 1. 40 targets will pop up in succession at variable distances, from 5 meters to 300 meters. If you hit between 23 and 29 targets, you are considered acceptable. Between 30 and 35, it means you're good. You'll get the sharpshooter badge. Over 36 targets, you get the expert badge and a weekend leave. This got nods and murmurs of approval from everyone. So, this is the carrot, thought Nubu to himself. What happens if I hit lower than 23 targets? Asked one of the soldiers. Then Private Thomas there will have to order 3 French-made costumes instead of 2. This started the general laughter all over again. Don't expect to get the expert badge from the first try, though, continued Biku. You need to be really good to get it. Master Trainer Nubu will help any of you with advice on how to improve your shooting, if you aim for that score. And in a few weeks, with his help, some of you might get it. Nubu was truly impressed. Not only did Biku improve the score of the entire squad this week, but he also paved the road to further improvement, and expertly passed the training baton back to him. 2 hours later, the shooting exercise finished, and Nubu now had a more precise evaluation of the soldiers' shooting abilities. The troops had been dismissed, and were heading for the mess hall. Nubu and Biku were left alone to compile the results. That was eye-opening, said Nubu. And not only regarding the motivation of the troops. I mean, for the love of the sun, how did you manage to install all of this? When? He said, gesturing to the modified shooting range. Oh, thank you, beamed Biku with pride. I did have some help. Those 2 people from the cleaning staff that will be off for a week, well, they installed most of it. Following my detailed instructions, of course, he hurried to add, grinning. In return, I put on a good word for them and got them the time off they wanted. He was now carefully peeling some kind of yellow, long fruit that appeared out of nowhere into one of his hands. Impressive, nodded Nubu. But how did you come up with all of this system? I must say, I think it really allows a much better evaluation of the soldiers. The humans use a similar system to this one. Saw it when I was serving with them, back during the war. It stuck in my head, and I've always wanted to implement it here. Any other ideas you got from them? Asked Noob with real interest. Oh, Noob, tons! Come on, he said, throwing the finished fruit pill into the trash, and magically bringing up another one. Let's go have dinner, and I'll tell you some of them. Not all, though, he warned, wagging a finger. I must keep some tricks for myself, you know. Sure, smiled Nubu, but should you eat before dinner? He said, gesturing towards the fruit. Oh, this is not eating, answered Biku. This is snacking. Totally different thing. Another brilliant human concept. Let's go eat for real, though. I'm famished. You're buying, by the way. They slowly headed towards the officer's lounge, Biku putting his upper left arm around Nubu's shoulder. Listen here, Noob,